Hello, and in today's video we're going to be going automatic, and it appears that my grandson absolutely loves it. Yes, in today's video we're taking a look at blinds. Yes, the blinds that go over your windows, and yes, you are still on a Gadget Joe video. This time though, I do not have the physical product with me on the desk to show you because it was simply too big to fit in. So there's going to be lots of clips of the product itself, but just imagine you're looking at a 6-foot long blind for now. The blinds we are taking a look at today are a little bit more advanced than the standard everyday blinds that you have in your house, because these ones are automated blinds. I was approached by a company called SmartWings asking if I would like to do a review on their smart automatic blinds, and I said yes. Originally I was going to measure up for inside the workshop, which is a small window, but then I decided against it as the window was to be removed, and instead I went for the main living room window. The ordering process was pretty simple because they basically just told me to go on the website, pick out my style, design, and then I needed to input the measurements to order it. The ordering process was pretty simple, as it literally gives you a guide on the website how to measure for your new blinds. You need to decide whether you want blinds that fit inside the window bay or fit outside of it. Once you've made your mind up, you can go ahead and measure up your blinds. They are custom made to measure blinds, so you're going to need to measure once, twice, 3 times, and then once more for extra reassurance. They are not like your traditional blinds that you can order in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 foot and so on, and then you just chop it down to fit. To measure, you need to measure from the top of a window bay on either side of a window. You then need to do this once again for the bottom and for the middle of the window opening. The reason for this is that some houses are not built straight. My house, for example, was built in 1914, so doesn't have a straight line anywhere. However, we were relatively lucky with the measurements for this, and they were all relatively close. For those that are not so lucky with the measurements, these are vital for SmartWings to make sure that they don't provide you with a blind that won't sit properly or even open properly. You also need to measure the height of the window bay. So from the bottom of your windowsill to the top, once again, do this in the middle and both sides for the exact same reasons as before. Write down these measurements and keep them safe. Then measure them again to make sure that you've got them right. It might already seem like it's more work than your usual blinds, but the payoff is definitely worth it for a bespoke fit. What you need to do now is make a few decisions to get the right blind for your window. They do create outdoor blinds, which are shades, or shades as they call them. If you want those, then go to this section on the site. For indoor, you have 5 options to choose from. Don't worry, I'll get on to the automation part of it all very shortly. For now, I'm focusing on the ordering process of the company, as that is part of a product. They have roller shades, which are your standard single sheet material that come up and down on a roll to block out the sun into your room or open it to let the sunlight in. Cellular shades that are double walled and offer little to no light through them at all, also claiming to offer an additional insulative and noise reduction layer. Zebra shades, which can offer multiple levels of shade thanks to strips going across that can alternate to be darker or lighter. Dual shades, which are self-explanatory. There are effectively 2 shades in one, so you can have more light coming in or you can have it even darker. And then finally, woven wood shades, which are, well, woven blinds made out of wooden strips. They work like standard roller blinds, but are a much more eco-friendly material and will work outside too. What you need to do next after choosing your style is to choose the colour of the blinds. There's plenty of colour options available, and I'm not sure, but they may offer some more custom designs if you were to contact them, but please don't quote me on that. When it comes to fitting them, it's a pretty simple task. Obviously, you are going to need to remove your old blinds or curtains and make sure the area is clean and dry for the installation. You then need to remove the blinds from the obnoxiously long box and set aside the 4 included brackets. The amount of included brackets may differ for your size, so if you opted for a smaller 2-foot blind, it's likely just going to have 2 brackets. The brackets are super easy to fit too, and do away with the horrible traditional side-mounted style blind systems that you have to secure into position at either end and then faff about lining everything up and squeezing the blinds in properly. Now that we have these mounting brackets that simply screw into place at the top of your window bay, they have made it easy too by putting stickers on the back of a blind motor unit itself that indicate where to mount the brackets. This is useful because this is the strongest part of the entire construction. All you need to do is simply hold the blinds into place and then mark where the indicators are on your bay. Then you need to remove the blinds out of the way, and then now you can start to measure out for your brackets. It's important to make sure that they all line up with each other and that they are on straight so that they all mount and secure properly. Drill 2 holes and tap in the plugs that are included, and then you simply screw the brackets into position and the mounting system is literally complete. It's worth noting here that if your window bay isn't straight at the top, then you're going to need to make some alterations to make it level, otherwise the blinds simply won't fit into place and then grab the brackets properly. Fortunately, the window I used here is the most square window we have in the house, so it went in pretty stress-free. When it comes to fitting the blind unit itself onto the brackets, it does take a little bit of wiggling and manoeuvring to get it in. The brackets have little hooks on them at one end, and then a movable piece that effectively bites the unit to hold it into position. You need to put the whole unit onto the top, then slide it backwards whilst pressing up at the same time so that it then clicks into position, and those little retention clips will then bite onto the unit. I do recommend having 2 people to do this for larger blinds like mine, but on a smaller unit you should be able to do this pretty easily on your own. Overall, the installation process is fantastic. I love the ingenious little bracket system and that you don't have to work corner to corner. It can be a little bit tricky to get everything lined up and in place, but if you're a bit handy with a drill, tape measure and a spirit level, then it's a doddle. It is worth noting though that the blind unit is pretty heavy. Not excessively heavy, but it's definitely heavier than your standard blinds thanks to the motor and battery contained within, and all the mechanism used that make the rollers work. Plus, the housing is metal too, which adds some weight to it too, so if you're going up the ladders, make sure you are steady and be careful when lifting. The weight and materials used actually give it a really premium feel too, which is nice to see. But then they're not cheap, so you expect them to be. In fact, the whole construction and overall experience feels very premium from the ordering process to the delivery and then the final product. Now that it's installed, you're probably quite curious about a couple of things. One being how to power it, and the other is how it works. Well, they are battery powered, so you don't need to install any cables, which is what I initially expected. You do get a USB Type-C charger lead in the box though to charge it up when you need to. SmartWings claim that the motor unit will operate for around 600 cycles or for around 6 months of use on a single charge. Obviously I haven't had it for long enough to test that claim, but to be honest, if you can get a couple of months use out of them, I think that's more than acceptable. Charging is done by removing the little tab at the top left of the unit that reveals a reset button and a Type-C port, and here is where you can connect the USB cable to charge the blinds. They do claim around a 5 to 6 hour charge time to completely charge it, but I would probably recommend searching for an extra long USB-C cable for charging, as the included one is okay, albeit a little bit short, and you're likely going to be looking for an extension lead or a battery power bank to charge it otherwise. I guess you could effectively take down the entire unit to charge it, but then that just seems downright unnecessary and far too much work to do every time for the sake of ordering an extra long lead for a few quid off Amazon. Now that the blind is in position, you are ready to start using them, and this is where the magic happens. This is also where some people could catch themselves out a little bit. To start the initial setup, it is required that you have a remote to be able to operate the programs. So if you do put an order in for your new blinds and clicked on no remote in order to save yourself 15 quid, then unfortunately you're going to be finding yourself back on the website to order a separate remote. So it's really, really highly recommended that you order a remote with your initial order. To power up your new blinds, you simply lift that panel up again and press the button for 2 seconds, and it will now switch the blinds out of sleep mode, and it will be ready to use with the remote. A green light will flash to say it is powered on and to indicate a good amount of charge within the unit too. Now all you need to do is use a remote to have the blinds come down or go back up. All the blinds are pre-programmed at SmartWings themselves before they are sent out, so they automatically stop at the measurements you provided, which is actually a really nice feature. The blinds are a little bit slow to work, but you can increase the speed if you do so wish to do so with the remote by opening the back of it and pressing the settings buttons and then pressing up on the remote. You will see the motor jog and a light show to indicate that the change has been made. If it jogs twice, it's normal speed, and 3 times it will indicate faster speeds. The blind's operation is super smooth, there's no jittering anywhere, and the entire blind comes down equally too. It is a little bit on the noisy side, not too much so that it's going to ruin your day, but considering how little it will be used throughout the day, it's a compromise that's pretty easy to make. And that's the majority of the ordering process, setup, installation and operation covered at a simple standpoint. There are lots more things to consider though, as depending on the type of motor you choose when ordering your blinds could work either just by remote or by remote and smart home devices. There are multiple options to choose from in terms of motors, from the standard motor, Zigbee motor which we have, Alexa motor, Z-Wave Plus motor, HomeKit motor over Thread and Matter motor over Thread. And the main differences between them, apart from slightly different motors used, is the functionality of smart connection. The standard motor is a remote-only motor with no smart control. All the others have varying smart connections, such as voice control and smart app connections, meaning that you can connect your SmartWings blind to a smart home app, such as Alexa, Google Assistant, Samsung Smartthings, Smart Hubs, Home Assistant, Hubitat, Apple TV and Apple Home. Thankfully, you get a programming guide with your blinds that gives you a step-by-step information on how to connect to whatever platform you wish to connect it to. The most effective way I found is syncing the blinds with any of them is by pressing the pairing button mode on the blinds above the charging port for a few seconds and then search for the SmartWing blinds on the app itself. This will then allow you to program the blinds to open when you wish via scheduling, voice controls, direct commands within the app or through any connected smart devices. Meaning if I wish to do so, I could say, Alexa, open living room blinds to my Amazon Show 15 in my kitchen, and it will do just that. Alternatively, if I'm away from home and I've left my blinds down or even up and want them to be open or closed, I can do that from anywhere in the world. It's a very cool feature to have, and it's definitely something genuinely useful to add to your home automation setup. A task that arguably isn't a difficult job to do, admittedly, of opening or closing your blinds, but it's made that a little bit easier without you having to do a single thing. So that pretty much sums up my review of the SmartWings motorised blinds, and I have been left very impressed. There are a few negatives, like anything else, from the motor being a little bit on the noisy side, the blinds being pretty slow, even on the higher speed, and the included USB cable being too short, and most importantly, the price. These are, as I mentioned before, not cheap by any stretch of the imagination. The set that I have comes in at around the £400 price mark. However, with that said, it does bring me on nicely to the positives of the SmartWings blinds, and rather contradictively, the pricing is also a good point. Yes, they are on the expensive side, but that's when you compare them to your standard run-of-the-mill blinds that you can pick up at most stores. When you compare them to custom-made blinds from blind specialists, they are actually very good value, considering you are getting the automation side of it all included too. The build quality is fantastic and the fit, made to measure, is incredible. My blinds fit perfectly and required no adjustments at all. The blinds are great quality too and provide a lot of features such as UV protection, thermal insulation, noise reduction, almost 100% blackout, and they look fantastic. The whole unit looks modern and contemporary, and when the blinds are up, the whole unit blends in almost seamlessly. The battery life seems to be very good, and if you really do wish to do so, you can even add solar-powered panels to the unit to keep it charged infinitely. The installation process was a doddle. Even for a fatty like me having to get up the ladders to do it, I found it very easy and very simple to do, and even somebody with zero DIY skills could do it with a bit of time and preparation. The smart functionalities are fantastic, and they always get a wow from people that witness them, going up or down on their own. Even my grandson Arlo loves watching them go up and down, and as you can see here, he's dancing to them going up and down. So overall, if you are in the market for some custom blinds and are happy to spend a little bit more than your average everyday blinds, then I have no issues recommending SmartWings. Just make sure you measure twice and then once more to ensure that you get the right fit. And the guys over at SmartWings even gave me a discount code for you to use to get 5% off site-wide. And if you use the code WELCOME5 via the link in the description below, you can take advantage of that. Whilst you're down there checking out that link, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already done so for much more like this and even more. And that's it from me for now, and until next time, goodbye.